Alrighty then. Do we have... Hey, we're going to start. Hey, we're going to start. Do we have any questions from the homework? Area rectangles? All good?
Well, that's actually a lot.
Matching a table with the description based off it being linear, exponential, quadratic, etc. All good? Using the information we talked about with the graphic organizer that we still need to go back to. Good with shapes?
Yep.
Oh, you turned it into the homework. I didn't see that. You were blocking it with your massive shoulders.
What's the multiplier in 54? 0.8, right? 80%. You lose 20%, you got 80%. Alright, let's move on. In your notes, either a new sheet of graph paper or somehow different. Now, we're working in groups today, Satya, so you probably want to, hey, either you guys should come up here because Satya needs you to.
Allergies have been destroying my contacts, so.
Are you just not wearing contacts right now?
No, I don't wear contacts during the day. I wear contacts during the night.
Me too.
While you're asleep?
Yeah, they crack my eyes because my eyes. I think it's like a retainer. They're like braces in your eyes. But
Bingo!
Glad she warned you.
But
Notes! Yeah, that's really interesting though. That like corrects
but
your eyes.
because of my allergies, they won't have any color. And they'll just keep on moving, and my eyes tear up during the night when I'm wearing them. And I'll
Yeah. So I have to wear, this is like one of those real nice fun things as you get older. I have to wear what's called an occlusal bite guard, which is essentially like a mouth guard at night. Like you're playing football. Hey Richard, what did I just ask us to do? Yeah, I need to tell me 8th grader to like quit playing with the transformer.
I have a very
I should,
cool
right?
transformer.
I should not need to.
Very satisfying. Is it yours?
My dad.
Or a master?
Well, this is mine. Mine's digital. Alright, so I'm going to pull this back down. Anyone feel like reading?
No.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren was the first person to say, sure. So, if you want to read all the way down to here, you can, or whenever you decide to quit, that's fine.
What section is it? Oh.
1, 2, 4.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean to describe graphs completely? Today you will learn a variety of graphs and remind yourself of vocabulary that you have previously learned. Describing a graph. Today you will need to describe graphs completely in words so that your classmates can accurately sketch the graphs without seeing them. But first, together with your team, create a list of questions you'll ask yourself when you see the graph. You should create a set of questions that when you answer them will completely describe the graph. Think about graphs you made in previous courses and how you describe them. Be prepared to share your list of questions with the class.
So this is why I asked you not to get the graphs out yet. I want you first to brainstorm. You shouldn't even look at the graphs yet. I want you first to brainstorm what questions should be asked if you were unable to see the graph, but you needed to be able to draw. So when we do this, one person in your group is going to look at the graph, and the other two will ask questions about it, and together try to figure out what the graph is. If I say anything more, I'm going to give things away. So right now with your group, talk about what questions should be asked, because then at one point you're only going to have, it's going to be like 2 versus 1 essentially. So take 3 or 4 minutes, talk about what are good questions to ask when talking about graphs.
Is it arithmetic or geometry? Arithmetic.
What's the
No, but I
equation?
don't we should
Can we ask
like arithmetic?
You won't know what the equation is. I mean, unless the person... No, so let's go ahead and say you can't just ask what's the equation because I worry that we're not good enough quite yet to all accurately like be able to get the equation. Because you're going to look at a graph but not be given the equation. You're going to have to describe the graph. So now you could say like it's an absolute value graph, but you cannot say like it is 3 absolute value x plus 4. Like, you know what I mean? So you can talk about the parent function, but you cannot tell them exactly what it
Okay,
is.
so if we know arithmetic, we should ask y-intercept and slope. Y-in, slope. Do we need to draw the graph?
Yes, you
Just wait until we do dilation, dude. We do draw the guy.
No, like. So
Yes,
you
you will be trying to. So if you are the two people asking questions, you will be trying to draw a sketch of the graph, and the person looking at the graph will tell you if it's right or not.
So Nin should definitely.
Okay, Eric. No. Scale should be for all geometric.
Yes. Scale, does that even matter? Do we have to scale the graph the same, or we're supposed to do it?
I believe most of them just use the standard scale. I'll double check. Freeze. But I believe most of them just use standard scale. Because I don't want you to see the graphs right now. You're going to have to try to draw them.
You need to find the y-in in that column.
All of these graphs use standard scaling. 1-to-1. All of the graphs we're about to look at use standard scaling
So we don't
1-to-1.
need no scale.
Now, that is a good question to ask in general, but just to make it easy for you guys today, all of the ones today use 1-to-1.
I'm guessing there's no breaks in the graph either.
Not saying that.
Oh.
Are there breaks?
Now, if one person in your group already had looked at the bag and saw a graph, please be honest and just say, all right, I'll start. Each bag has 4 graphs in it. Each bag has 4 graphs in it. This is intentional. You are to do at least 3 of them. If one seems too difficult, I don't know if you guys are watching game shows or anything, but if you're like working on it, and you're just like, man, this just isn't working, you can skip it. But only one of you gets the opportunity to skip because there's only 4 graphs in your bag. So use your skip wisely. If you can do all 4, sweet. Your graph has a letter at the top left corner. So first, the person looking at the graph should say, okay, this is letter whatever, and the people trying to solve it write down that letter. Then the people trying to solve should ask questions. The person with the graph does not just start divulging information. They have to be asked questions and then answer. Does this all make sense?
Yeah.
We have, I don't have the new schedule. We probably have until 25. I'll pull up the new schedule. So I'm guessing we have about a half hour. I'm thinking we could probably do like 8-minute rotations with the bags. So the bags are going to rotate group to group, so do not do this very loudly. You do not want the group next to you to be hearing things, but remember, if you're the group next to somebody else, they might not know what they're talking about. So yeah, don't listen into other groups, just wait for it to come around to you. Questions? Dive in. One person starts with the bag.
I'll get back next.
Sorry.
I'll get back.
Yeah, you guys are working together
So
to
one
ask
person
questions.
gets the-
So, let me re-clarify, because I think I'm getting the same question from Jacob and then immediately. You are looking at one graph to start, that's it. So you can, hey, stop.
What?
Leave them in the bag. We're going to make like, yeah, but you're cheating for every other round after that. You cannot look at the other graphs. You can only look at one graph.
Okay.
You're not picking a graph. You're just looking at one. So actually, leave your bag sealed. I did not anticipate people cheating. Leave your bag sealed and look at one graph. The other 2 people are asking questions, working together to try to figure out what the graph looks like.
Okay, so should I just draw one out of the bag?
No, just look at, like, just literally flip your bag over. Cover that field. Really, I should probably moderate this.
Okay,
Only look at
can
that
the
graph.
entire graph fit like a nice little 10 by 10 page?
Can I get
No, they have to ask questions.
Positive or negative?
Is it geometric or parabolic? Oh, thank God you asked that. I was
Okay.
careful.
No, they could have also just asked, what is the current shape of the graph?
It's in 2 quadrants?
It doesn't have to be yes or no questions. Just have to ask questions.
The y-intercept.
Make sure you know what letter you're doing. Make sure you know what letter you're doing.
Letter 8 and E. The wiring says 8 and then letter.
So,
You get
what is
Y is parabolic.
Are there any breaks in the ground?
Is it shaped as a U or a upside down U? Upside down U. Upside down U.
How many?
Wait, like that way? Yeah. Okay.
There are math words to describe that.
Just the one called the accent.
The
Then I got it.
oh yeah.
I told you the collar behind stuff.
Patrick caught my collar. What do you ask?
How many times it costs? And dude, it's just it would probably be
Is it geometric or wiring says 8 upside down U?
Okay, does it have a consistency?
Oh, what's the X intercept? There's gotta be 2 X intercepts. Oh yeah, dude, the 2 X intercepts are -4 and positive. X intercepts are -4 and regular.
I like you said X.
Are there any specific?
4 and negative.
Yeah, 4 and -2.
Any specific?
What? Really hard to say.
Okay. What's the X?
Okay, so now we have to like figure out this little.
Do you know the y intercept and
Oh,
the
it's
x
negative.
intercept? Could you draw most of it?
Yeah, but.
What's the slope?
I mean, you'll know the behavior,
Down to
right? Like you know where it
The
peaks,
X.
and since those are inverses or opposites, yeah, they're additive, they're inverses. You know that the graph is even, right? Like that's the middle.
Dang it. Dang it, Levi. He was nowhere.
You were supposed to
If that is your graph, so that's a discrete. Wait, right? It's not continuous. It only exists at certain points. So yeah, you need to have 6.
I would
We do
assume.
know how to count.
Oh no, like they could just have the first one.
Like that.
This is a fresh clean anchor. Going through
Oh,
That's why I got a black one.
this is the way to use last one.
No, actually, I got one.
You're doing it
It's
on
not
one,
proof.
but not proof.
I went to like
I didn't want to
5
use up like the
different
whole
stores.
page because it goes on page.
Well, yeah.
Goes
Okay.
on use your arrows, kid. Sorry.
Okay, what's the?
Oh, you're down there.
Luke, another graph.
Okay, is that it?
Are we almost ready to switch people?
We are ready.
Okay, I'm going to change the rules a little bit. The next person, I'm going to come around and just give you a card to avoid people looking at multiples. The next person has to describe the graph as completely as possible to try to get your partners to draw it. So you guys can decide who that person's going to be, but now you're now it's not questioning, you're describing. So, Nick or Lauren?
Lauren.
Am I?
Yes, you
A bunch of
Who's
letters.
Matt Root?
Sure, I know.
So.
I bet you're Huh?
His name's
Apparently he's
Well, what
something
letter
from
is
outside
it?
people.
What letter is it?
Okay.
L.
'Cause that's
Will
one
it
you
be
guys
like
want
a
to
10 by 10 is?
Yes.
What letter?
So,
Is it
Sorry, 1, 2, 3, or 4.
1 and 4.
Okay,
So top
How do is 1 and 2?
You saw it?
One,
Oh,
two,
you
three,
did.
four.
Either
Paper's kind of see-through. Try to like cover the back of it if you can.
Oh, it is.
Okay, next.
Was somebody just whistling
Describe
mad
the
while
slope.
I can't even listen. I play the flute and I can't listen. It's real embarrassing.
your life will never be fulfilled?
That's very true. Okay, so there's really only 3 points the
What's
actual
the
care of. Getting this. There's 2.
Oh, it's a German.
I just,
Oh.
so one of them is at 0, -8.
I need a pencil.
You're -8, 0.
-8? No. Yes.
You
okay.
thought-
-8, 0. -8, 0. Okay.
She's
And
got
then
a much better one than
8,
me.
0.
Pencil sharpener. You need a pencil sharpener.
And then
Go
the y-intercept is 8, 0. Okay. And then maybe
0,
like
8.
kindergarten.
0, 8.
Yeah,
Lauren, I just
0, 8.
couldn't let you say x-intercept and then provide the y-intercept. I just couldn't.
It wasn't even the y-intercept.
I thought you just said it was zero.
It was, I said negative.
Oh, negative 8. Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to get paper bags this weekend, so we will cover your books next week, and then it'll be yours to do whatever with. Like take
What's the
the
slope?
locker.
What's the slope?
How we doing? We about ready?
Okay, let's do it.
About ready to switch?
Yes.
The third person. Sorry, are we not ready yet?
Like
We'll
this.
wait.
Who sits here in the class before us?
The third person, it's your choice because you're last. So I'm gonna set both of the graphs you guys haven't done yet. Actually, now I'm gonna make this even more fun and we have enough time. Third person, you have to do both. Third person, you do the last 2 graphs, one questioning, one telling. So you get to describe which one you're gonna tell and which one you're gonna have asked about. You get to decide which one you're gonna tell.
Stop.
Because well, I guess at this point you draw on the other 2.
What
So,
letter?
you did that one.
Can I
Where's?
10 by
How you only have 3? Oh, you still have yours. So these are the 2. So you decide which one you want to be asked about and which one you want to describe.
Positive or negative?
Okay, that's 2, isn't it?
No.
Okay, guys, we're moving on.
Um,
1, 2, 3, 4.
So just flip it down.
I feel like that's not true.
Okay, ready? Who's your third person? Thomas. So Thomas, you're gonna have 2, and you get to choose which one
This one
you
is
describe to
going
them,
to ask
and which one they ask you questions about.
Wait, actually, I'll describe it.
Is it blue?
Oh, wait,
Nope.
should we ask
Alright,
questions?
you can describe it, but you need to
Yes,
see them.
you can pick.
I want to ask questions.
This one.
Go on.
This one.
That is not Bravo.
Okay.
Bravo. It was my fault.
Is it?
The one you
Yeah.
did. The one you just did.
Yes, but it wasn't.
Is it
No,
like-
there's like
I
a-
know which one I'm talking about. Does it look like the word
Well,
as
say-
okay.
That's absolute value. That's
Absolute value.
Oh,
yeah.
You can ask the question of just like, what is the parent function? Like, what is the parent
Dude,
graph
all you have to
shape?
know is the slope of the
Like, is it linear,
Okay.
quadratic,
1, 2,
cubic,
3,
like
negative 3.
a sine curve, a cosine? So I'll stop.
are there breaks in the graph? That's like
Roy
where you
is
did
easy,
some little
though.
scribbly thing and all that stuff.
It's pure continuous.
What's the
Now I need to ask Mr. Hudson.
Are there more than one?
For this guy, I have a question. For this, how do you find that?
There's no x-intercept.
And why?
So that graph, it has
X-intercept
a
is-
specific domain.
Okay,
So the graph doesn't exist until you reach a certain point.
That was an easy graph. That was an easy no. Next one.
Or you could have where to ask where does the graph exist.
Wait, is where the straight line?
Yeah, we are. We gotta do both layers.
The positive and negative one. Cut off. Positive one, negative one. And this graph domain is
Okay,
x is
some points
greater
that are
than
on the
equal.
same.
Okay, this graph starts at 1, negative 2.
Oh, this is like hard.
One negative two.
If it was easy, you'd be bored and you'd complain about that.
Oh. Okay, so I explain. So it is a positive line. It's not really discrete or continuous. It's more on the continuous. No, it's more on the discrete side. Oh, is it like this? Is it like this? Yes. No, but there's. It's just this, that, that.
It has a concept on it.
It's really here. It's ladder. Yes.
Only use the 2 coordinates at a time.
So it. So
So is the entire graph?
my
No,
intercept
it does not have
origin.
Okay.
It's basically.
Okay.
Is it close to
Is
the-
this
Next point I think I can give
It's
you
just
is
a straight
9 and negative 5.
It's just a straight line.
It's a positive. positive. I think it was.
Oh yeah, I have you guys till 26. Righteous. Alright, I'll try to get you guys out of here by 25 so you get a head start.
No, but it's got those.
Yeah.
So is it like it's not a line, it's like a step.
Yeah, it's
it's like that.
And so it's each thing is just one.
So whoever just said it's like a step, that's a nickname of a type of graph.
Yeah, like this. I know what the step graph is.
Depends on what type of. So you gotta ask about like, is it
Yeah, we can't.
if how you're explaining. So if you remember, there are more
Like it goes like that.
types that graphs may be, or you might not be able to.
Alright. What's your next graph? And you have to describe this one.
So it's like this. Is that square?
That?
So
I don't
they
think
don't do a
that's
good
from
job here showing where the open
Yeah.
circle is.
Okay,
You can
what's
just
that?
decide what you want it to be,
J.
or just
Oh,
make
that's
it
why it
easier.
was
Okay, can it fit in a 10 by 10?
So it's this.
Dang it,
Yeah,
what
but
quadrant?
Wait.
I'll say,
It's
Oh, you can do it 10 by 10 in all corners.
that was the question.
Would have been hard.
It has some all corners.
Does it take up
No,
the
exactly.
I like it. Just don't let it bend back down.
Let's
Because you
take
get
a
used
ball
to sketching
pen, like
graphs like this, unless he tells you it comes back down.
It's like this. It's basically what's up.
How is your viewpoint?
So that is an example of a graph having a limit where it's going to keep Satya. You are able to identify that's not appropriate in the middle of class. Now we go with drum circle, I'm down with it, but not right now. Sure, but at a time when it's appropriate.
1 negative
so-
0.
Normally, no, we'll talk more about it later. It is getting ever so close to a certain value, but it's never coming back down.
Wait, isn't that like the one where like we had an example where the teacher was like,
negative 4 0.
so you can leave class, but only if you make it to the doorway, and you have to half your distance each time. And it was kind of like a geometric graph, how it goes down and curves, but it never reaches that, and it really annoys me because it would be logical to say,
It's actually exponential.
So
Yeah.
is it just a horizontal?
it just annoyed me because it has to reach it.
So imagine my distance here is 20 feet,
Oh,
right?
oh,
And I get to go half every time, like every move I make, right?
Yeah.
So that would be 20 times 1/2 to the x, or to the n order. That's exponential, right? As opposed to x to a power,
Yeah, I thought it was x to a
which would
power.
be quadratic or cubic or something like that. What you're describing
Negative 2.
would be like the distance between me and the door
Yeah.
is 20 times half to the number of moves I've made.
It just annoys me how you never get there, but it would be logical to say that you understand you're getting distance each time, but you're also adding decimal sideways.
So like after 2 moves, I have a fourth of 20 left. After 8 moves, I don't know what 1/2 to the 8th power is, but I have a very small number, but like I still have a number, right? And it's still positive, so I never get to the door. So that's like the ego question that I just put to myself here today. Does 0.9 repeating actually equal 1?
Yeah, it does.
You go straight down.
Sort of.
Down, straight down.
It's
That's
Close
not
enough that there's
Straight
no
down.
distance between
They're
them.
like
Wait,
the
so
little
are
curve.
Does pretty much
What?
one.
You can ask.
Not much. No, go straight down.
His sentence is like,
Don't curve it. Go straight down.
no, we have like 20 minutes now.
Yeah,
15,
trading our
17,
things
but-
with other.
like that.
Are we done with those?
Almost.
Hey, that was my
And you
question.
connect on negative 2, 5, and 0, 0.
You serve.
Negative 2, 5,
There
0, 0.
you go.
Which do you guys like better, asking or describing?
Oh,
Describing.
I like that.
oh.
And then it
You like
goes
the
down
asking?
to negative 1
Hey,
negative.
now he's gonna make this right.
Who wants a new graph?
And you connect those two.
Your team
And
has
that
to.
goes straight up.
Tell them the letter first.
That goes straight up.
Are you guys
Oh,
ready?
graph C.
You want a new one? Alright, or
Similar
whatever
to
you guys
that,
decide
yeah.
you like better, asking or describing. Go with that.
Is it discrete?
Here's 2 more. I'm gonna leave these face down here. Okay?
Parallel.
Parabolic. It kind of does look like a belly.
That would have been.
Sorry,
Yes.
I lied to you guys. I'm gonna steal those
The
too.
opening
I'm trying
is
to
on the right direction.
I mean, that was.
Yes.
What?
Oh.
Who wants?
I will.
Do you guys like asking or describing better? Describe- What do you like better?
What?
Oh, having them ask. Okay. So there's another one. This one's for Levi, and then there's another one.
Why
So
would
you guys
you
do this one.
willingly give us
Oh, why is it negative one?
What letter is it?
One or negative one.
Here, can it fit in the
X
top
intercept is negative one.
No, it's all there. Just don't go for it right now. Do you remember like
10 by 10?
Different graph types when you were in high school, man. What they're
Like
called, like how to describe them and everything else. So what they're doing right now is either describing the graph, trying to get people to draw it based off the description, or asking questions and trying to draw the graph based off the answers to the questions that you ask. Can you ask good enough questions to actually draw? So they're it is very tricky. It's tough, man.
A parabola is like
Here's another one for you guys, and another one for you guys.
Hi.
Is it arithmetic, geometric, or describe?
I'm gonna give you guys about 10 more minutes. I know, probably 5, and then we gotta move on.
Does it look like a check mark or a U or an S?
had to
or
teach
what
them
are we
about what prime numbers were last night.
It's
I had a
like
swim
little-
coach who was so into prime numbers that
Right,
everything
so
he
like,
did,
it's
he
an
would
S
try
and
to
S.
like utilize prime numbers. He has alarm clock to set prime numbers.
Yeah.
Like,
What are the coordinates?
Where does it
I
stop?
think he was crazy with it.
It's a Y
I mean, we had the
0, 0.
A little bit more.
after we finished talking about prime numbers, we looked it up, and the largest prime number has over 29 million digits.
That's the largest prime number we've found so far. Yeah. A 7th grader 2 years ago, I think, wrote a code in Scratch to check whether a number was prime or not. Which is pretty cool because it just ran it through the divisors, and it just went so far up the divisor list and then said, okay, it's prime. But it like
That's
big
funny.
enough numbers it wouldn't work for. Satya, if I have to take away your pencil ability, I will.
You may not use pencils.
Pencils are a privilege, not a right.
Yeah. I'll give him a pencil wrapped in like foam.
It might be easier to take his fingers.
You
You got a cigar cutter anywhere?
Does it continue in this direction?
You guys ever seen a cigar cutter? It's like super scary because you
Yeah.
put your finger through.
My
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we could have.
You don't
Yeah.
but like a cigar
One
cutter, it's like
direction.
you cut a finger off.
Isn't there like a box of
You can never go
cigars
back
that's
to
like
those days.
over $20 million?
This is good.
I don't know how we made a gold.
I went
batch
to-
of gold leaf.
What letter?
Smoking with
A.
Yeah, have you heard about the gold dip news?
Yes.
There's a restaurant in I think it's New York that is now doing like chicken wings that you can get coated in gold.
Positive,
A gold
negative,
leaf.
negative.
I don't know, but it's like an order can cost upwards of $10,000.
So top right.
Yeah, so in case you want to eat gold.
10. Okay.
And there's actually
There's gold
again,
popcorn.
don't drink, right? You guys aren't old enough to screw up your brain, but there is an alcohol that has gold in it. Yeah, it's like, why? Why do we do this? What
There's
Why
a
do we
vodka.
just stuff it?
There was a company, an actual company, that sells air from
in
other.
a can?
Yeah.
Yeah. That actually, I think,
Actually, I would
I
buy
can't
it.
relate.
I would buy it
Spaceballs.
from high school.
Have you ever seen Spaceballs? It's a spoof movie.
Yes.
Don't they do canned air there? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
fresh air.
yeah.
I feel like it's a steak.
It is. They get.
Ah, fresh air.
I know.
There goes back to breathing
Now there's
air.
companies that sell flavored air. Like that's really cool. I
That would
want
be
to
cool.
Yeah,
I
we
would love
did
it.
bring
I'm
company. We brought a company to Otterbein that did a straight oxygen bar, and it's supposed to be really good for your body because you do like an oxygen flush. Because the air we're breathing in is pure oxygen.
I
When you
really
breathe
want
in
to
pure oxygen, you
And
get
then you
off.
just go
Because your brain gets like
Down.
flooded with oxygen, so it like makes you feel really good. Like yeah, it's not hot, it makes you feel really good. So there are actually places called oxygen bars.
I
You
want
go
to
like
I wanna
whatever
try
flavor
it.
do you want, and you put on a little thing, you breathe in straight oxygen.
It feels like laughing acid.
But it like clears your system out. It's supposed to be good for you.
Yeah.
All right, one more minute.
Vaguely affordable.
You're done.
I want to do that.
Question.
Gee.
How do you order the
Why does it say my
Is it
cell
1,
phone
2,
for hand?
3, 4,
Oh,
or
I
1,
want to do
2,
this one. Okay.
Imagine a clock.
Don't do one.
Bam!
Oh.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
gonna
not.
ask
I'm
you a
not.
question.
No,
Okay,
I'm
ready?
not.
Imagine a clock.
We don't have enough time.
We're gonna
Yeah, we
it.
do.
We're doing it.
10 minutes.
Go.
I was like, oh, wait, what is it?
We are moving on. All right, look up here.
I saw it because that crystal light in this whole room. I could see.
A B C D E F. Check how you did. A B C D E F.
Man, dude, we should have done the A. That would be easy.
Dude, D would have been easy. D would have been easy.
That's not the step ladder that we did.
It is a step function. They just didn't give enough detail. And you guys don't right now understand ceiling versus floor. So where the open point is, that is ceiling versus floor. So there are two different types of step functions. So ceiling involves one end of the line. Floor involves the other end of the line. But like the other point is open because it's filled in. I forget which is which. I always look them up to verify. Yeah, but I believe ceiling goes open up. Open up. I believe that is ceiling.
Oh, that makes sense. That's like a
Because because you jump on the All right, are we good? A, B, C, D, E, F. Hey guys, fat group, we're done. We're moving on. We're checking graphs. I know you guys want to keep doing it, and you guys can keep those cards if you really want. I'm not going to reuse those handouts. A, B, C, D, E, F. Anyone need me to keep these here, or can I scroll?
Scroll.
Fat group, are we checking? Are we good? What type of graph is A?
Linear.
Linear,
It's
right?
linear.
What about B?
It's like a parabolic thing in the buffer.
B?
Half of a parabola.
Yeah, it might be half of a parabola. We can't totally tell. It looks similar to C, right? What is C?
Parabola.
Sideways parabola, right? So what would the form of that one, how's that different than a regular parabola? Thomas?
It would be y squared.
Yeah, it's going to be x equals y, like something y squared. But either way, now the y is squared. Yep, you switch it around. D, what type of graph is that?
That is a
Discrete scatter plot, right? Yeah, discrete, some sort of growth. Some sort of growth model. E, upside down parabola, right? So negative x squared. F, type of step function, right? We don't know exactly which. G,
Geometric.
Less than one geometric.
less than one geometric. We are reducing
It's discrete
our
too.
output, and it's discrete.
Absolute value.
H, absolute value, makes the V, and it's been shifted down. I,
That is something like
probably part of a parabola. So when we see parts of a parabola, that means it either has been limited by a certain domain or a certain range. This, by chopping off as we go up, is limited by a certain range. This, chopping off, actually that is still a certain range also. If we saw a parabola that came like this
That would be
and
domain.
stopped, or came like didn't have the left half and started here, that would be domain restriction, which actually, I believe we see, well, this, depending on what type of graph, this could be a domain restriction, because we're not quite sure what the rest of it would look like, but it's probably a range restriction.
Is there a
J.
parabola that goes like
Hang on. J, what type of graph?
It's like
No, not J. Absolute value straight lines, man. Cubic.
going through your
Oh.
face.
Parabolic squared comes down, goes back up, or goes up, comes back down. Cubic does both. Because remember, as you cube root or cube negative numbers, interesting things happen. Positive numbers are all going to be positive, but negatives come back out to be negative, weird things like that. The cube or the third power creates weird graphs that kind of look like the S, or however you want to think about it. Has a maximum and a minimum. Rather, a max over there in the fourth quadrant, a minimum down there in the second. K,
that is
linear, thank you. L,
That is a weird.
Half a circle.
circle.
Semicircle.
Yes, but it's a circle graph, right? So, now we are going to learn this year about how we write circle graphs, and it's actually pretty
I'll
awesome.
try to explain it to me because I asked what it would be in 4th grade and I didn't understand a little bit.
You're not in 4th grade, son.
I know, but
I mean, you still look at
actually a bit.
Hey,
I was looking at 7th grade, first
hey,
of all.
be nice.
No, it's a joke that we have in between me and him.
All right.
Because you're free.
Take a moment, no talking. Take a moment on your own, determine where do A, B, and C match versus I, double I, triple I.
Wait, can we?
Steven, give me a match.
Your voice got a lot lower over the summer.
Is it B and double I?
B goes to double I. Number of hours of daylight each day over a year.
Oh wait, no, I? Is it kind of like
What happens in summer?
I?
The days get longer, right? What happens in fall and winter? Days get shorter.
Like this.
January to December, days start getting longer. Summer, right? June and July. Fall to winter. B matches I. Thomas.
A is I.
Now, you guys might not even know this because postage stamps aren't used all that often. This is slightly misleading only because the forever stamp never actually, you can use it forever. But the price that you pay for the forever stamp has gone up dramatically. If I had bought books of forever stamps when I was a kid, I believe it would have been about 17 cents per stamp. Now, if you go to buy a book of forever stamps, I believe it's 45 cents per stamp. Sending a letter has gotten more expensive. Can we guess why?
Inflation.
Why would email make sending letters more expensive?
Because
Wouldn't that make it less expensive? Expensive because supply and demand.
well, we need more money.
Okay, so if less letters are being sent, we need more money. But my postal carrier has less work to do. Jacob? Or why did I do? I know who you guys are too, Christopher. Do you want Chris or Christopher? By the way, I like your last name. So I normally call you
It's Creech Loafer.
It's Creech Gopher.
No.
As long as it has some sort of reference to something,
Like your name, as long as I reference your name.
You can shout any
Chris.
part of anyone.
Chris, why would stamps be going up in price?
because of
Inflation.
inflation.
Inflation's a natural occurring, well, because of how we've set up our finances. Inflation naturally occurs and minimum wage has gone up, right? Gas has gone up. Everything that is involved in getting a letter where it goes has gone up. So postage is going to have to go up. C, who can explain why C happens? Like, if I were to blow up double I, this graph would actually, let's say this is a new car that you spend $20,000 on, 20K. It actually probably does that. Real dramatic.
Yeah.
And this is like 1 year.
But after a while, you can't.
What? I've heard from all three of you. Can I have somebody else?
If it's a really nice car, it'll go back up at some point.
Or just a cool car.
Jacob?
So as new cars come in, they're more expensive, and then it eventually hits like a benchmark where it's not going to go any lower in price.
When you go and buy the car, right? Let's say you're 16 now. For some reason, your parents are crazy and want to buy you a new car. You go to the lot, you pick out like a nice Honda, something like that, something safe, and they give you the keys, right? You sign your life away. You're going to be in debt for like 20 years, and hopefully like 7. Car loan should be 5 to 7 years. Drive it off the lot. You get home. Your buddy comes over and you're like, "Hey, check out my new car." I'm like, "Dude, this isn't new. You just drove it." What immediately happens to your new car? It's no longer new.
The second you wear shoes out into the street.
Second yours, especially
My
if it
Jane.
rains. So this right here is literally just the human understanding of my car is brand new or it's not. As soon as you drive it off the lot, you lose like thousands of dollars. As soon as you drive it
See,
off the lot.
these people don't
This-
understand. If you don't drive your car, you get more use out of it.
Well, not necessarily, because age comes into fact as well. So this is why my wife and I got in not really like a huge fight, but a disagreement about purchasing a vehicle. She wanted to buy a Toyota 4Runner, like big SUV, great, back window rolls down, love that feature, great for our dogs. I was very against buying a new one. My buddy at CarMax had to come and like talk me into it. We didn't buy it at CarMax; they don't sell new cars there. Because when you look at a RAV4, or sorry, not a RAV4, that's my car. When you look at a 4Runner, the graph of it does that.
So it never goes down.
Oh, it does.
It
But because this vehicle type is so popular and Toyotas are built so well, you lose that initial, like, oh, it's not new anymore. But then you just have a slow depreciation, like anything else that you would expect. As it ages, it gets worth less. But even out here,
after like 8 or 9 years, we could still get a pretty good amount for it. Versus that Beamer that's now 8 or 9 years old has lost a lot of its value. Now, don't actually like go look up. I don't know if a Beamer would lose that much. But I had to get talked into, like, dude, what you understand about car depreciation is not true about this vehicle. So I had to break what I had in my head, right? My fixed mindset of new cars are a bad deal because they lose so much money. For him to tell me, actually, if you compare this graph with the graph of some other type of new vehicle, you're way better off here. And the used vehicle you might buy, sure, you might spend a little bit less on the used vehicle, but it's going to keep losing value too. So when it comes to if we go to sell it, right, like you might be better off to have bought the new one because you'll make more money out of it than if you bought that used one. Exactly, you got to find your residual. So, just those real quick. We have get out of here. It's 25. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll pick up here tomorrow. We'll pick up here Monday. Have a great weekend. Work on the homework if you can.
But you have